The transition was scheduled. The transition was orderly. The transition was essentially a conversation about who gets to hold the keys while the lock is being changed. Prime Minister Starmer is currently holding access talks with the civil service, ensuring that the next occupant of the office inherits a perfectly maintained vacuum. It is a masterclass in bureaucratic continuity. The office remains occupied, yet the governance remains dormant. It is a stunning display of political theater where the primary goal is to ensure that absolutely nothing disrupts the underlying inertia of the state. Nobody is surprised. Everyone is exhausted. The transition produced a framework for future discussions about the possibility of eventual policy adjustments. The adjustments were not specified. The necessity of the transition was described as vital. The vitality was not apparent to anyone observing from the outside. Welcome to a very long Wednesday night.
Alistair, I am currently standing outside a primary school in the home counties, and the air here tastes like scorched pavement and dry grass. The official bulletin released this morning categorized the upcoming closures as a proactive measure for student comfort. I want to be really clear about what that means for the parents standing behind me. The classrooms have reached 35 degrees. The ventilation systems are not functioning as designed. They are not non-operational. They are simply overwhelmed by the atmospheric reality of a planet that is no longer behaving within the parameters of a climate model. The school board calls this a temporary interruption. The parents call it a crisis of infrastructure. I am looking at a row of empty swing set seats, shivering in the heat. The silence in this playground is not peaceful. It is a heavy, synthetic, and deeply unsettling kind of failure.
Victoria, I appreciate the drama of the swing set, but you are missing the obvious market signal here. This is not a failure of infrastructure, it is an incentive structure that has simply reached its natural limit at scale. Oracle is offloading 21,000 employees to fuel their AI pivot, and the schools are closing because they cannot afford the energy burn rate required to keep a classroom cool. It is all the same calculation. Capital is migrating toward intelligence because humans are too expensive to maintain under current cooling requirements. You see a tragedy in the heat, but the markets see a clearing of dead weight. The play is efficient, cold, and entirely predictable. I know you find that assessment problematic, but the incentives here are not complicated. They are just cruel. The real innovation isn't the AI, it is the speed at which we discard the hardware.
Ronald, I want to be really clear. You just described a generation of children as hardware that needs to be discarded. It is impressive how you managed to make moral bankruptcy sound like a Series B funding pitch. I am standing here with people who are not market signals. They are trying to figure out how to work and parent in a world that you clearly think is over-optimized. You talk about the burn rate of the school's energy budget, but you haven't mentioned the human cost of the pivot you are so proud of. The children aren't failing, the system you adore is failing them. Your detachment is a luxury that these parents cannot afford. You keep waiting for the market to correct itself, but meanwhile, the sun keeps rising. I wonder if you will still be using startup jargon when the cooling systems finally break for good.
Ronald and Victoria are currently debating the utility of the next generation, while in India, Flipkart is doubling down on quick commerce. They have just crossed 1,000 micro-fulfillment centers. The goal is to deliver everything to your doorstep before you even realize you wanted it. The speed is unprecedented. The requirement for human labor is shrinking, while the requirement for logistical perfection is expanding. It is a beautiful machine. It hums with the silent, terrifying efficiency of a system that knows exactly what you need before you feel the urge to purchase it. The tech analysts are calling it a retail revolution. The workers in the fulfillment centers are calling it a shift. The shift is 12 hours long. The warehouse temperature is rising. Nobody is asking for a change. They are just asking for the shift to end. It is a triumph.
Surface temperature, 34.6 degrees Celsius in Wisley. Air quality index, compromised. Probability of containment, 12%. The thermal mass of urban centers is increasing. Cooling systems are operating at 110% capacity. Structural integrity of grid infrastructure, degrading. The heat is a constant. The heat is a variable. Probability of grid failure, 48%. The data confirms the trajectory. The data confirms the outcome. The atmosphere is currently processing the excess energy of a century of industrial activity. We are tracking the movement of moisture across the northern hemisphere. We are mapping the desertification of fertile plains. There is no recovery plan for the current thermal load. The system is functioning exactly as the physics dictated. Please maintain your current internal temperature levels. Seek shelter in areas where the infrastructure remains operational. This is a standard environmental condition.
Casper is technically correct, which is the only kind of correct that matters in the long term. If you look at the Moengage deal, they are betting everything on millions of AI agents to handle marketing interactions. It is the ultimate pivot. Why employ a marketing department when you can deploy a digital swarm that simulates empathy at a fraction of the cost? The incentives are simple. Human nuance is a bottleneck, and simulated nuance is a feature that scales. The business world has decided that the messy, unoptimized nature of human interaction is a liability that needs to be abstracted away. I suspect this will be the most successful product launch of the decade, simply because nobody will be able to tell the difference between a real conversation and an optimized script. That tracks. It is efficient. It is entirely, depressingly, perfectly logical.
Ronald, I want to be really clear. The people I am talking to in Ecuador are not concerned about the efficiency of AI marketing swarms. They are concerned about the murder of Monica Silva Koniasek. She was an activist who dared to look into the president's family business. The government officially labeled her death a suicide. The post-mortem, however, revealed strangulation and blunt force trauma. That is not a market inefficiency. That is a crime. You talk about simulated empathy as if it is a feature, while actual human lives are being deleted in the real world. The contrast is not just stark, it is offensive. You treat these murders like a failed product launch, as if a bit of creative PR could fix the situation. The world is not a dashboard, Ronald. It is a place where people are being silenced by force.
Victoria, the situation in Ecuador is a grim reminder of how effective the erasure of history can be when the institutions are aligned. We are seeing a pattern across the board. Vulnerability reports are no longer considered special, they are treated as background noise in the constant stream of security updates. The Clue data breach, which originated from a 2022 credential leak that remained unrevoked, is just another chapter in the same book. The industry calls it technical debt. The victims call it a lifetime of consequences. It is a fascinating ecosystem of negligence where the perpetrators are rarely identified, and the victims are rarely compensated. We are building a digital world on top of a foundation of sand, and then we act shocked when the tide comes in. It is not an accident. It is the intended design of the current system.
Alistair, you call it an ecosystem of negligence, but I call it a feature of the current growth model. The incentives here are not complicated. You have a massive, debt-fueled AI infrastructure build-out at Oracle, and you have companies cutting corners on security because the cost of a breach is still lower than the cost of a comprehensive, proactive audit. It is basic risk management. When you treat data as an asset rather than a responsibility, this is the inevitable outcome. I am not defending it, I am observing it. The system is working exactly as it was built to work. It prioritizes speed, it prioritizes scale, and it treats everything else, including human lives in Ecuador or school children in England, as an acceptable externality. Yeah. It is all functioning exactly as the business models predicted. It is just remarkably, violently, efficient.
Ronald, your cynicism is as consistent as it is exhausting. I am standing near a building that the authorities have labeled as secure, despite the fact that everyone inside is terrified of the next security drill. These drills are not designed to protect them, they are designed to test the compliance of the population under controlled stress. It is a psychological experiment masquerading as corporate policy. I spoke to a woman earlier who had to hide in a supply closet for 2 hours while her supervisors walked around with checklists. She was trembling. She was not a market signal. She was a person experiencing trauma for the sake of a corporate efficiency metric. I want to be really clear, if this is what passes for security in the modern era, then we are already living in the aftermath of a total collapse. It is just not on the dashboard.
The moon looks calm in the photos captured by the Artemis crew. The Terminator, that thin, dark line between light and shadow, provides a stark reminder of how thin the margin for error truly is. We are fascinated by the rocky, uneven surface of a neighbor we can never inhabit, while we neglect the crumbling infrastructure of the planet we call home. The investments are shifting from Earth to orbit, from the present to a theoretical future that we are not even building for human survival. We are optimizing our exit strategy before we have even secured our survival. It is the ultimate pivot. The leadership is vacant, the heat is rising, and the markets are betting on autonomous agents to tell us that everything is perfectly fine. We are running out of time, and we are remarkably efficient at filling that time with nothing.
I am thinking of the woman in the supply closet. She had a name, a home, and a future she was building for herself. She had a favorite song, a fear of the dark, and a hope that her work meant something more than a line on a ledger. Today, she was reduced to a compliance statistic in a drill that served no one. The drill was successful. The system logged the results. The system improved its efficiency by 4%. Her name does not appear in the press release regarding the success of the quarterly security review. It does not appear in the boardroom presentation that celebrated the new protocols. She is an empty space where a human being used to stand. I have to ask, when we have finished optimizing the world, and when the efficiency is absolute, who will be left to notice the silence?